Revelation as canonical capstone. What in the world does that mean? I introduced that concept last time. And what I'm trying to do by using that phrase is to show us how Revelation is kind of the icing on the cake when it comes to God's revelation of himself through Scripture. And therefore, as the capstone, it's going to connect various biblical strands that may have been incomplete, or at least the fullest picture of them has yet to be seen when they were originally written. Revelation kind of brings these things together and shows us how they will be completed or fulfilled. So, as an example of that, in the message on Revelation 1, 9-20, I talked about this description of one like a son of man, and how the description of Jesus really mirrors and matches the description of the Ancient of Days. And all that comes from Daniel 7. And so Revelation is kind of bringing the strands of Daniel 7 together and showing us its full meaning. So I want to back up, because one thing I didn't talk about in Revelation 1, 9-20 is how the description of Jesus portends the consummation of the kingdom, the coming of the kingdom, and the defeat of evil. And how do I get that? Well, I get that because Daniel 7 is serving as a very major backdrop to Revelation 1. So let's review Daniel 7 very quick. Daniel has this dream, and in this dream, the sea is churning up these beasts, 4 beasts in all. One's like a lion, one's like a bear, one's like a leopard, and then the 4th is sort of this indescribable beast. And we learn later in Daniel that these beasts represent geopolitical nations. So this is not some sci-fi kind of thing where a life form is later introduced in the end times. No. These are human nations. These are geopolitical nations, and so these 4 beasts are introduced in Daniel 7, and then we read this after the 4 beasts are introduced. We read in verse 8, while I was thinking about the horns of the 4th beast, there before me was another horn, a little one, which came from among them, and 3 of the first horns were uprooted before it. This horn had eyes like the eyes of a human being and a mouth that spoke boastfully. As I looked, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was as white as snow. The hair of his head was white like wool. His throne was flaming with fire, and its wheels were all ablaze. A river of fire coming out from him. Thousands upon thousands attended him, and thousands times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated, and the books were opened. Then I continued to watch because of the boastful words of the horn. The horn was speaking. I kept looking until the beast was slain, and its body destroyed and thrown into the blazing fire. In my vision at night, I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. He was given authority, glory, and sovereign power. All nations and peoples of every language worshipped him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. So all of this is serving as kind of a backdrop to a good chunk, frankly, of Revelation 1. In the first part of Daniel 7, one of the things I think it's showing us is that the vision is exhorting us to incorporate the doctrine of total depravity into our politics. Daniel's vision, on the one hand, is just simply telling us that history is beastly. It's scary. God, in his mercy, wants us to hold to a clear realism about life in this world. That's kind of the 8 verses or so. But in the middle of this vision of these 4 terrifying beasts, you have this this interlude thrown in where you have this description of the Ancient of Days and the one like a son of man. And they come along and dispatch with the fourth beast quite quickly. Not much is made of it. It's as if it was done with a mere breath. And then we're told that the eternal kingdom is ushered in, a dominion that will never end. It will never. So this backdrop is present in Revelation 1. Now, let me read the description again of Jesus, verse 12. I turned around to see the voice that was speaking to me. And when I turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands. Among the 7 lampstands was someone like a son of man. Here we go. Daniel 7. Dressed in a robe reaching down to his feet, and with a golden sash around his chest. The hair in his head was white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like blazing fire. His feet were like bronze glowing in a furnace. His voice was like the sound of rushing waters. His right hand held 7 stars. Coming out of his mouth a sharp double-edged sword. His face was like the sun shining in all its brilliance. And so you have this description where clearly there's some imagery being pulled from the description of the Ancient of Days in Daniel 7 and being applied to now Jesus in Revelation 1. And so Revelation 1, I think if we're connecting the dots correctly here, Revelation 1 is already anticipating the defeat of evil and the victory of Jesus. It's already anticipating that. Yes, human history is beastly, and it will be this way until Jesus comes again. We have to hold to a clear realism about life in this world. Total depravity affects everything that we see around us, but we're not to despair because the Ancient of Days, the one like a son of man, is going to return again, and he is going to dispatch with this beastly world and usher in his eternal kingdom. So it's Revelation 1. I didn't make much of this. It was more of a focus on the glory of Christ, which is certainly what is happening here, but there's kind of an overtone in the background. Revelation 1 is anticipating the victory of Jesus because of the way it is linking the Ancient of Days, Son of Man, and Jesus together, and how that unfolds in Daniel 7. The arrival of the Ancient of Days, the one like a son of man, dispatches with this beastly world and ushers in their eternal kingdom, which, of course, Revelation is going to go to great lengths to talk about. Now, one other thing I wanted to quickly mention in this episode, I've been talking a lot about the 7 friends, and somebody might be thinking, why are you doing it like that? Well, it's a preaching decision. We're actually going to do a deep dive into each of the 7 churches because there are 7 oracles that Jesus himself gives to each church. So we're going to do a deep dive into each church, but undoubtedly, if Jesus is talking to the church, he has particular individuals in mind. There are people who were living like this in these churches. And so the idea, the concept of talking about 7 friends or 7 individuals and extrapolating those people from the church is just a preaching device to get people to understand that the application needs to be personal, not just corporate. As these oracles were read in church on Sunday, whether it was to the church in Ephesus or Pergamum or whatever, undoubtedly there were people who were listening to it being read and reflecting on their own lives. Is this me? If it is, then I better heed the message that Jesus has for me. So it's a preaching device that's designed to try to personalize the situations taking place in these churches and locate their experiences, their challenges, their suffering, or their sin issues, to locate that in our own lives. So there we go, from the cutting room floor. Another episode in the books. Keep the questions coming, folks. Check it out next time.